Hello everyone, welcome back to the stream. Sorry for the slight delay getting started, but we are here. And yeah, I guess I'll start by saying Alchemortis is available for wish listing. So if you haven't done so, I would appreciate that. And also, you could support me in other ways if you check the links in the description below. But we won't get into all those because we have work to do. And I think the next thing to do here... So we're working on the map changes. We need to make the strongholds trigger the boss fight. So we've got that going on. They need to apply some kind of bonus when we do the stronghold fight. But also, we need to disable the stronghold if a field boss is fought. So yeah, there's just a bunch of like structural stuff that needs to be done here. So yeah, we'll just get going and we'll see how we can get this working. Hello, Roseby Games. Welcome back. Good to see you. Is this the more map stuff stream? It is the more map stuff stream indeed. Indeed it is. Welcome back, Tempura Cat Games. Hello, Clickertail. Welcome. Meep Dev. Good to see you. How are you doing? Hello, Jhar. Welcome. Okay, let's take a look at what we got going on here. So when we fight a boss, emit signal boss defeated for a region. So I think we'll just need to clear the stronghold in here somehow. Let me do this. So we've got a seeded run. Run map. So we've got the notoriety regions in here. Let me go to my run map generator. Create strongholds here. Okay, so I think what I'm going to do is let's go to the run map node here. Or run map notoriety region. Let's do public run map node, stronghold node. Public void set stronghold node. Okay, and then the run map generator here, we will do region.set stronghold node, closest node to center. Okay, so now we've got a reference to the stronghold. So now in the run manager, when we do this boss completion, let's see, emit signal boss defeated for region. Let's do this. Let's do public run map node, get stronghold for region, int region index. Okay. So now in our run manager here, I think I could just call set visited on this. I think I can just call set visited on this. So if we do seeded run dot run map dot get stronghold for region dot set visited, we'll do that in there. That may not be good, actually. State combat victory. State map transition. Let's do this in here, maybe. Seeded run, get stronghold for region. If stronghold is not equal to null, let's do not equal to current run map node. Stronghold.set visited. Okay. So we'll remove this down here. All right, so now we need to track, well, we need to track boss defeats as well, but hello, Nathan, welcome. Doing alrighty, launched my demo for the next fest. Awesome, congratulations. Hello, Anthony. The official Firebelly stream OST is different. It is, yeah. It is. Hello, Jackie Daytona, welcome back. Okay. So I should probably just test if that much works. Let's go back in and disable hide fog of war, debug fog reveal radius 300. Okay. So what I want to see is if I do a boss fight early, I should see that that region's stronghold also gets cleared. Oops. That's probably close enough. Let's go this way. So let's see if that works. Skip this so we don't have to sit through it. Auto-resolve that. Okay, here we go. So if I go here, that's going to let me do the enchant, and then I'm also going to go into the boss fight. So now I should see wherever the stronghold is. Yeah, so the stronghold got removed. So obviously I can fix that up later, but for now that works. So once you defeat the boss patrol goes away, and so does the stronghold. Wow, that's a lot of death orchids. Do you ever worry about the quality of your code as a game developer? The code you wrote become more scalable and flexible? Well, there's to a certain extent, I'm always worried about the quality of the code, but mostly that my primary concern is developer experience, like how easy is the code base for me to work on. I'm not super concerned about performance issues, but yeah, to the extent that I need to make my code like scalable and flexible, maintainable, all that good stuff, yeah, that is a big priority for me, generally speaking. That doesn't mean I do it perfectly everywhere, but that is definitely something that I put some amount of effort into, at least. I should rephrase that to how much do you focus on an aspect of your code? Yeah. Yeah, it's a pretty big concern, I would say. Okay, so that's done. We need the victory condition. Upgrade nodes every time 100 notoriety is hit. So this is the thing that I need to do. It's not upgrading all of the nodes currently. So I need to think about how I want to do this. So when the notoriety level gets to 100, it's beefing up all of the combat and the boss fights, but it's not beefing up anything else. If I go to my seeded run, base seeded run, upgrade encounters. So if I look at like my booster configuration, so this is just accepts a node tier here. So I should just be able to set the tier on nodes, generally speaking. So how is that actually done? Run map generator. Compute tier for node. I don't need this anymore. Is this even working? Hold on a second. Is this max tier even doing anything? Okay, I think I messed this up. Let's see. Yeah, I kind of messed this up. So I've got the tier. So I need this compute tier for node to actually compute the real tier here. Okay, let's change this. So the max tier is configured up here. I think I need another value to determine how many notoriety loops I've done, how many times I've reached notoriety 100. So I'm just going to play around with this. So if I do like int notoriety tier, what the heck? Okay, so let's do this. If I do extent percent times .25 plus what the heck? What do I want to do here? Max tier deviation. No, I think I want to do max tier times extent percent times 0.25f plus f times notoriety tier. Something like that. So basically what I'm trying to do is there's the max tier for a node, which caps whatever tier it can be. The extent percent is the node tier is scaling based on how far away it is from the start node. But I also want to add an additional scaling for whatever notoriety tier we're on. So if we're on tier 0, essentially what's going to happen is it's going to take this max tier times extent percent, but then multiply that by a quarter. And then that is going to change every time there's a notoriety tier above 0. It's going to add another, 25% there. So eventually by the time we get to like notoriety tier, I guess it would be 4, we'll get the max tiers out. Now, obviously this number will have to change depending. Maybe we'll do 3, 3, something like that. To determine if 1/3 is appropriate scaling here. But I think that actually makes more sense now. Let me see what that does. And obviously I'm not doing anything with that now. I have to, I'm gonna have to change that to some extent, but what I should see is that, like, we got a tier 2 card upgrade up here, tier 2, there's a tier 3 one, but I think the card upgrade, what is the max card upgrade here? Oh, I have the default tier, max tier 6. So the upgrade can go up to a max of 6. So what I'm seeing now is that there's a max of 3. There's a max of 3 as it currently stands. So then if I upgrade nodes, this is where I'm going to need to... this is where I'm going to need to do this. The problem is that this is using a shared RNG object, so I'm probably going to need to break that out as well. So this is only being used in assigned node tier right now. And that's just using the RNG that's on the map itself. So if I were to call this out of band, like in the seeded run, or in the base seeded run here, where I've got my upgrading counters, those almost need to use their own RNG objects. So maybe I need to do that as well. Interesting. What software are you using there for project planning? I saw you had some feature for adding cards. It's Obsidian with the Kanban plugin. Hello, Ariad. Welcome back. How do you come up with ideas mechanically and thematically for so many enemies and cards and stuff? Well, I think one thing that helps is... the theme that I chose for the game, the necromancy alchemy thing, with a medieval setting, there's just a lot there that you can work with, so that makes coming up with ideas for cards and stuff easier. But there's like obvious things like executioner sword and guillotine and all this kind of stuff, but usually I just things will just come to me, or like I'll just have an idea for a card or I'll be watching a movie or a show or something, and I'll see something in the movie and be like, oh, that would be cool to add. So it's more of like a passive thing. It's not like I sit down and just come up with all these ideas. Just kind of just keeping my eyes open for anything that might pop up that could be a good addition to the game. So there's not really a process behind it. Mechanically, though, like coming up with mechanics for the game, that is more of a, starting with the experience that I want the players to have, and then trying to come up with systems that can move the player into that experience. And that's not perfect either. I mean, that's one of the reasons why we're reworking the map right now, is that it, the previous map was not accomplishing all the goals that I wanted out of the map or out of the gameplay. So now I'm coming up with new mechanics to hopefully address those things. Hello, Ninja Link. Welcome back. So I think I'm going to need to add... I might need to create an RNG object for each node so that they're isolated. So any node-specific operations can be set to their own thing. Okay, so we'll just create a new RNG object with a seed, and then we'll pass in the RNG here, and then we'll pass in the RNG there. Okay, so now in the tier config, we're going to get rid of the RNG from this, get rid of that, and we're going to use the node RNG. So now when I compute the tier for the node, it's going to use that isolated RNG object, so it won't be, it won't be affected by anything else. Okay, so that's good. We're probably going to have some issues in here. Maybe not. I swear I'm going to have some issues. Let's see. Yeah. Tutorial utils. Okay, get tutorial map. All right. I don't think this matters, but it is a requirement, so we'll just pass that in. Okay, so now I need to actually be able to recompute the tier of the node. Tier config. How do I want to look this? How do I want this to look from the base seeded run here? Upgrade encounters, else. Oh, I don't have the run map generator anymore. I just have the run map. Oh. So I might need to move this functionality into the run map itself. That's probably okay. Let me see. Event type to tier config. This is just used here. Yeah, so I guess if this is just requiring the run map, maybe we could just move this stuff over. Default tier config, event type to tier config. Let's move this over into the run map. And then we'll grab the tier config as well. Well, I guess we just make this public method in here. Okay. We don't need this map anymore. Okay, and then we can pass in this int notoriety tier is equal to 0. Pass in the notoriety tier there. Okay, and that just becomes mapped.assign node tier. Okay, maybe that makes more sense. What error do we have here? Oh, here we go. All right, so now back to what I was trying to do. So in here now, we're just going to take this run map dot assign node tier node. We probably will need int notoriety tier there. Okay. So now we need to keep track of that. Private int notoriety tier. Scrolling down here, notoriety tier plus plus. All right. So let's see if that even works. So we'll go to project settings, debug notoriety level 99, and we'll see how that looks. What impresses me is how much polish you are putting in. Well, thank you. Yeah, I'm trying. We got to make this game look and feel real nice. Hello, Ruben. First time watching the stream, currently working on my own game because of your sprite animation video. Awesome. Glad to hear that. What's your game about? Hello, Anthony. Do you work on a single screen or dual? How do you feel either option works for streaming? Well, I have two screens, yeah. All of my stream stuff is set up on. I have a monitor to my left here, which I'm pointing at, and then my game monitor is over to my right, or my main monitor there. Obviously, when I'm not streaming, I could use the other monitor for, you know, if I've got like the documentation pulled up or whatever, but for streaming, it's nice because I can see all of your comments on the other monitor, and then I can keep all the game development stuff on the main one. Okay, all right. So let's see what happens when I upgrade. So some of these things may change in tier. So let's see if I go to this card upgrade here. So that upgraded all the nodes. So this is still tier 1, that's still tier 1, that's still tier 1. Did that even work? I have no idea if that even worked. Let's see. Okay, so let's just pick out a node to watch. So that booster there, let's see if that booster goes up. Maybe it won't because it's too close to the start. Yeah, I don't know if that's working. So that's a tier 3 card upgrade out there. I mean, I guess the problem is that I think my scaling function is just not working that well. We could just make everything go up by a tier, but I think this works. Yeah, that went up to tier 5. It's just these ones at the beginning don't really go up. So I wonder if I could just change that math there. The problem is the nodes that are closest to the start aren't going to have like their floor values increase, so they may just remain fixed at 1. I think what I need to do is I need to shift the whole thing. Let's do like times 0.5 plus 0.33 times notoriety tier. So we're just going to cut them all to half, and then we'll increase it by a third, the floor by a third every time. And this probably needs to be math f dot max, or min rather, of 1f and that extend percent there. So basically what this is going to do now, hopefully, is that we're going to take the percentage of the way it is from the start, from 0 to 1. We're going to multiply it by 50% to start, but then we're going to add a floor of 33% for every notoriety tier. And so what that will do is that will push up the nodes that are near the start quite significantly every time the notoriety tier goes up, without causing this to go over 1. So that means that, you know, the farther away nodes are going to cap out in terms of their tier first. I probably also don't want to lower the tier. Because this could potentially lower the tier because of this this normal distribution that's happening here. So it's possible you could get a node that generates with an abnormally high tier, but then you do the node upgrade again and it gets knocked back down because of this randomness. So I probably want to prevent that from happening, just preserve whatever higher tier exists. But let's see what that does. Also, mirror the comment above is about polish, it makes all the difference. It does, yeah, it does. Early stages still, but the idea is a puzzle game in a world like Horizon Forbidden West, where you're a drone, need to solve puzzles by finding a path to the end with limited battery life. Okay, that sounds interesting. Okay, so let's see. This is a tier 1, so let's see if I visit this. This should become like at least tier 2, I think. Hopefully. Oh, that became tier 3 now. Oh, very nice. It's tier 2, that's tier 2, that's tier 3. Oh, so these are getting pushed up quite a bit, actually. But that's probably okay. That's a tier 5 health increase. Tier 5 health increase, tier 4 enchant. We might need to push that floor down a little bit, or change this number. Maybe 0.25 instead of 0.3. So these are both booster 1. So if I visit this booster now, that became booster 2, enchant 2, enchant 2. And some of these out here now should be like higher tier. Tier 3 alchemical reagents, tier 3 booster. Okay, well, I think that's reasonable for now. That's a tier 4 shop. Yeah, I can play with those for sure, but that seems to be working decently well. Okay, cool. So I think that's all I need to do. So all of the rest of the node types, they scale based off of tier. I just needed to do special things with the combat because those combat boards actually need to regenerate. So I think that's fine. I think that's fine. So that's done. So I think the next thing to do is to start thinking about like global debuffs that happen whenever your notoriety increases. So we want to make strongholds offer you some kind of bonus, but we also want to add negative conditions when the notoriety hits 100. We still need the victory condition as well. Okay, we'll figure that out. What do you think about releasing an early build on itch versus waiting and planning a later build playtest on Steam? Well, I don't really have much experience with itch, so I don't know. I think it mostly depends on where your audience is. Like, it doesn't matter if you release an early build on Steam or versus itch. The question really is like, who is going to play your game, right? And so with Alchemortis, you know, I've already got a following, so I'm able to advertise to those people like, hey, here's my new game, go play the playtest on Steam. So I think that's the main consideration to make. And of course, the other consideration is you can't do a Steam playtest until you pay the $100 app fee. So that's another consideration. If you don't want to pay that fee yet, because maybe you don't know if you're going to sell the game for sure, then maybe itch is a better way to go. But I guess the main thing is that where are you going to get playtesters, right? I don't think just throwing the game up on itch is likely to get people to play your game in any sort of numbers. So those are the considerations I would make, but As far as like how good itch is for collecting feedback on early builds and whatnot, yeah, I'm not sure. I'm using Godot, Conglomerate. Welcome. Welcome to the stream. So let's track boss defeats now. We need to be able to track when all the bosses are defeated so that we can actually go into the victory stuff. I think that's good. Oh wait, rename. Need to track boss defeats, change notoriety level in some way after boss defeat. Yeah, and then redo victory condition. Okay. So we already have this notoriety region boss defeated, so I could probably just put that back. Notoriety region boss defeated. So that's done. And then here, let's do seeded run. Is this gonna work? No, I don't have a region index. All bosses defeated equals true. For var I. This can be simplified to all bosses defeated. That, and then that. Okay, let's see if we can get this working. So we're tracking the boss defeats now. And that should spawn the victory screen. So let me go to my seeded run or run map generator. Let's just shrink the map down so I don't have to run around all the time. Let's do 50 and 50. I'm relatively new to coding, but I think I'm pretty competent, or getting pretty competent at writing code as well as reading and understanding the code itself. I do, however, still struggle with building complex systems. Any tips? No, I would say that you're on the right track. I think that the ability to build complex systems is just going to come with experience and getting exposure to different ways of doing things. Of course, you can read about the solid principles. You can read about programming patterns. There's even a resource called Game Programming Patterns, which will kind of go through all of the most common patterns in game programming specifically. But yeah, just read up on the standard solid principles, the standard programming patterns, both for games and non-games, and just keep doing what you're doing, because yeah, you'll get the experience as you write code for sure. But you may find that reading up on patterns, programming patterns, it may accelerate your learning a little bit, because it'll expose you to different styles of approaching different problems. What do we think between Unity and Godot? I've worked with web development and I've been interested in transitioning into game dev for a while, but I'm not familiar with this field yet. I mean, I love Godot. This is a Godot fanboy channel, so I'm always going to recommend Godot, but Unity is still a very competent tool, obviously. And, you know, I think I would encourage you to just play around with all the engines available to you. They're all free to try. They don't charge you anything. Maybe not all free to try, but the big ones are free to try. They don't charge you anything just to download and work with it. So you can definitely evaluate like how you feel in every engine, and then you can go from there. I think it's largely going to depend on like what kind of game you're making as well. If you want to make like a super photorealistic open world game, then Godot may not be the best choice for that, but it also may not be the best choice generally if you're just going to be a solo developer. But for the kinds of games that I make, like small 2D games, Godot is perfectly fine. Not just perfectly fine, but amazing. So the good news is that this whole boss loop is working pretty well. So now we got to go up and defeat the last one. Tiny map. Very tiny map. Let's see. I got to put the map decorations back in place too. That whole system needs to be reworked. Could be that strongholds halt or reduce notoriety gain in the region. To destroy a stronghold to me would sound devastating. To its region and population, their last bastion of hope is gone. Yeah, I was thinking about having it just reduce your notoriety by a flat amount. But we could see. So this should be the legendary Marshal Holt. And this should determine that all the bosses have been defeated. Hey, look at that. All right, so we're back in the same spot we were in with respect to the victory condition. Cool. All right, so we've got the victory loop back in place. That's working great. So honestly, the next thing to do is to figure out these notoriety tiers. Like every time the notoriety rolls over 100, what kind of debuffs are we going to put on the map or certain nodes, right? Like it doesn't necessarily need to be the map. It could be just nodes of a certain type. And the idea is that we're going to make this dynamic too, so that you don't get the same set of debuffs every run. We'll choose like a random set of debuffs. So we'll figure, and then of course there's a question of how do we display all this information. So yeah. The stronghold is just the region boss right now. So there's the patrolling boss, which is the same boss as the stronghold boss. I want to have multiple bosses in the future, so it is possible that the patrolling boss would be different than the stronghold boss, but the idea is that the stronghold will give you some kind of like extra bonus for defeating that. Now I guess maybe it should be stronger. I don't know. We have to think about that. You're welcome, Joey. You are welcome. Turbo Warp. Yeah. We have the one Turbo Warp dev in the chat. The only one globally. I'm kidding. Is the learning curve for Godot plus C# steep? I noticed that Unity has built-in version control other than Git. Does Godot have one as well? If so, do you use it over Git? No, I just use Git. And Godot is designed with Git in mind. So there's like, as far as I'm aware, there's basically like no binary resources that Godot produces. And that's typically where you get problems using Git. All the resources in Godot that you create in your game, whether they're scripts or whether they're scenes or whatever, those are all text files at the end of the day. So if I look at like my main menu scene, oh, that's not great. Main menu scene. So this is my main menu scene. It's just a text file. It's like, it's got plain text, it's readable. And so that means that not only is dealing with Git a lot easier, but I can actually go in and read the file, and I can make manual tweaks to this file if I need to, which I have had to do on certain occasions. for various like edge cases with how I was building my scenes or restructuring them. But so that text file is what creates this whole scene here. So everything that I've set up here, that's all just saved in this text file essentially. So yeah, using Git with Godot is just fine. I don't have any problems with it. If there are merge conflicts, I can go line by line and like resolve them, or just deal with the merge conflicts as you typically would. Overwrite the file with one of the branch versions or whatever. But yeah, Git is perfectly fine. And as far as the learning curve for Godot plus C#, no, I mean, I wouldn't say it's any steeper than just learning Godot by itself. Like if you already know C#, then the issue is basically just learning how to use Godot and what APIs are available to you, that are made available to you by Godot. But I wouldn't say that the learning curve is any steeper than using any other engine plus whatever language it uses. Like the learning curve of using Unity plus C# is probably going to be similar in difficulty to the learning curve of using Godot and C#. All right. Re-add, oops. Okay. So now we're at the point where we want to start dealing with what notoriety debuffs happen. You're welcome. Good afternoon, Emerson. Way more learning resources in GDScript though. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, if you're trying to learn Godot, there's going to be a lot more tutorials that are done in GDScript versus C#. But if you are familiar with programming, familiar with C#, it's basically like it's very easy to translate between GDScript and C#. Welcome back, I Code for Food, by the way. Lurk more map stuffs. Yes. Hello, Neozoid. Welcome back. Okay, I'm going to take a quick 3-minute break again here, and then when I come back, we're going to start figuring out what kind of debuffs we're going to apply for the notoriety level. So I'm going to pose this question to the chat. So the idea is that every time you hit 100 notoriety, the map is going to get more difficult. All of the node tiers will increase, generally speaking, but then also we want to add some negatives to either certain subsets of nodes or all nodes, something that makes the game a little bit harder for the player without just ballooning the damage numbers and the health numbers of the enemy. So I'll throw that out to you as a question of like what you want to see, like what kinds of debuffs do you want to see, and we'll go from there. So I'll be back in just 3 minutes. Hello, Bubblegum Lord, and we will continue on. Okay, I'm back. With the roaming bosses now, is you're removing the eyeball, or is that was just temporary? Yeah, so the eyeball needs to be updated in terms of the language that I'm using in the code as well as the art here, but the eyeball is now the patrolling boss. So if I hover over one of these nodes here that's under the eyeball, you can see that it says, under the watch of a boss patrol, triggers this region's boss fight when entered. So the idea is that this is going to turn into maybe like a battle standard or something with like a flag waving in the wind, and then it's just going to move. The way that the eyeball works, well, now the boss patrol works, is that this is just going to plant itself in the middle of a road, and then whatever nodes are within that radius are going to be boss fight triggers. So this is just a way of like denying dynamically certain paths to the player. It's not like a true denial though, because you could still choose to visit this node, you'll just have to fight the boss afterwards. So again, this art needs to be updated though, but functionally it's there now. Have you given any thoughts on what your next project will be? Not really, I'm focused entirely on Alchemortis right now. However, I do think that it would be fun to try to make a single player extraction shooter. So that is something that I was like noodling around in my head the other day. Making like a single player extraction shooter. Either like top-down 2D perspective, or that could be an opportunity for me to try 3D with pixel art. So it would be like a 3D, could be a 3D pixel art single player extraction shooter. Something like that. I think there's, with the popularity of extraction shooters, especially with Arc Raiders, I think there are opportunities, like there's Escape from Duckov as well. And there's also Zero Sievert, which is kind of that same kind of deal. So I think there's lots of opportunities to make really compelling extraction shooter experiences in a single player format. So thought that would be interesting, but yeah, we'll see. We will see. Like I said, I haven't given it much thought. Got to finish Alchemortis first. It's going well. Welcome, Blood Slash. How you doing? Welcome, welcome. Okay, so when the notoriety rolls over to 100, we need to stack some debuffs. What kind of debuffs do we want? I didn't see any debuff suggestions in the chat, so now we gotta think of something. Oh, I didn't add the flavor text for the whip. Oh, I have that written down, okay. Okay, so in addition to making all the nodes increase in power, I'm thinking that we could add debuffs to... I mean, I already have like a map node effect system for debuffs and whatnot. So let me look at my map node effects. So reduced max health, fire damage over time, hide revealed nodes, increases notoriety penalty, combat reduced health, map node effect, exhaust card on combat start, map node effect. So maybe these, I mean, I could make use of these these negative map node effects that I have already. You know, there are opportunities to change alchemy as well. Maybe make alchemy add more negative abilities. Could increase the radius of the boss area with increasing notoriety. That could work. I'm just not a fan of using debuffs to make the game harder is all. So then what should I do? Because there needs to be pressure, like with this new map system, I can't just let the player go and run around an area that they've already defeated the boss in and just gather up a bunch of power. So that's the core issue, is like, how do I get the player to make a decision between gathering power and going and finishing the game, right? Like, I think the game is going to be very boring if the gameplay basically becomes visit all the nodes before you kill the bosses. Giving the enemy buffs is essentially the same thing. Maybe some kind of timed thing. Well, timers are not really appropriate in this game because it's like a turn-by-turn thing. I mean, the notoriety penalty is kind of a timer because every time you travel, it ticks up the notoriety. Balance is always the hardest part, I'm sure. Yeah. I asked about the eyeball because from the playtest it seemed that they were on a predetermined pattern. Could the higher notoriety have the eyeballs focus more on your active path to lay that boss flag? Yeah, that could work. That could work. Maybe diminish the rewards if notoriety is too high. Maybe limit the alchemy for player. After defeating the boss, you have limited time, and after the alchemy is blocked or doesn't give a residue, etc. Like magic powers in that region are depleted. Yeah, I don't know if I want to limit the player's alchemy, though. I mean, there is an interesting idea here that maybe strongholds can grant residue or something, or buff alchemy in some way. I mean, okay, so if we don't want to debuff the player, then maybe maybe fighting the bosses can give you an explicit buff of some kind. It'd feel less bad if you made the enemies take less poison versus your cards. Lose 1 poison damage, for example. It's more a perspective thing. Yeah, I understand that, yeah. Hey, thank you, Factor IRL, for the raid of 10 people. Very much appreciate that. Thank you, thank you. Welcome to the stream. Right now we're trying to decide what the heck to do about the balance in my map. How are we going to make the game more difficult when this notoriety rolls over? Came to see some map stuff. Thank you. Didn't realize we raided zoned out. Welcome. Welcome. I'm in the middle of a big map overhaul for my game, Alchemortis. And that's why it looks kind of bare bones right now. But we'll figure it out. Yeah, I actually don't know what to do. So if we don't want to do global debuffs, I mean, I think there are some debuffs that would be acceptable. Like if I just reduced your current health pool by like 25, but that was a one-time thing. That's something that happens and then you can work around that, right? Yeah, I don't know. What's the game about? Alchemortis is a dark fantasy roguelite auto-battler where you can create your own synergies by using alchemy to mix card abilities together. So this is the alchemy here. I can take, for example, this Snakehead Whip and merge that with stone hue. And when I alchemize those together, then the whip will gain abilities from stone hue, or stone hue will gain abilities from the whip. And then I can grab that. And now I can use this card in whatever synergy I'm trying to build. So that's the core idea behind the game, and each card here has its own like unique abilities in terms of how it works. And then the combat is just, well, I'm not near a combat node. We'll go to the booster here real quick. I actually have a debug setting on right now, so I'm getting thrust into the boss fight here, but the idea is that when you start a combat here, so I'm going to go into the boss fight. Oh wait, no, never mind. Not going into the boss fight. So I go here, I fight an enemy board, and then it's an auto battler, so everything just kind of ticks on its own, and you could build up your synergies that way. I don't have anything impressive set up right now to show off, but that's the idea. Maybe the hunters in the area, if you idle long enough, the cleaned area Inquisition sends strongest patrol, forcing you to move forward. Yeah, I mean, if that's the thing that I'm going to do, then I might as well move back to the other map that I had for the playtest. Because this approach is more like letting the player free roam and like explore all the regions separately. But if I'm going to force a player out of a region, then I might as well just do that on the old map setup. Now you all are causing me to second guess this new map approach. That's okay. We're just experimenting, we're prototyping here. The more I think about it, the more I'm like, should I just do a Slay the Spire thing? Should I just like make it so that the player can only really move forward? But I like the free roam idea, the free roam map. Sounds complicated and cool. Like the style, thank you. Yeah. Hopefully it's gonna be cool. I gotta nail down some game design issues still. I gotta nail down some game design issues, but figured out. Do you like my God mode mutton here? Just deals 10,000 damage. What if additional bosses would spawn? It would greatly simplify things. Yeah, it would. Yeah, it would. We are stuck. Well, we could always take a break and do more content. How did I end up in the same position here? I have to discourage the player from spending too much time exploring so that they go and fight the bosses. But I need to do that in a way that doesn't feel bad. If it's too much trouble for the world map, then it sounds like a good sequel or DLC drop. The free roam is unique though because most only allow forward. Yeah, that's kind of why I want to keep it, because it's like it's kind of fun to just be able to go any direction that you want on the map. Like wherever is connected here. You know. And for the people that are new to the stream, I have the entire map revealed right now, which is not how it's going to be typically. So if I turn back on my fog of war here, the exploration is a little bit more interesting because you can't see everything ahead of time. So there is an exploration element where this fog of war is only going to get pushed back as you travel. The other thing I like about this new map setup is that there are strongholds that you need to seek out now. And I like that a lot. I guess what the stronghold could do... yeah, I don't know. So I'm thinking to... How long have you been developing Alka Mortis? Since March of 2025, so we're coming up on a year of development. Maybe the other way around, present buffs to the player, defeat boss next time and gain unique buff for X fights or additional resources. Well, the problem fundamentally is if there's no negative incentive for the player to spend too long exploring, then the player's just going to explore. So if all I offer is buffs to the player, that's just going to make just hitting every node on the map even more appealing. Like, there needs to be a disincentive to hit, like, all the nodes, right? It needs, like, what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to get the player to decide, like, balance between, okay, like, do I want to take this long path and grab X, Y, and Z node? Or do I want to just, like, make more of a beeline to the stronghold? And there needs to be, like, real consequences for that, right? Like, it actually needs to be a real choice where you say, nah, if I go the long path, I'm going to risk incurring this massive negative penalty that I don't want. Or an X steps moves. Do you use Godot to make games with C++? No, I'm using C# with Godot. I'm scared of C++. It's intimidating to me. Game dev is hard, yeah. Game dev is hard. I mean, I could definitely see why most games just, like, force you, like, in a general path, like Slay the Spire. I know why Slay the Spire doesn't have free roam, because, like, it's a very elegant and easy way of making sure that the player gets to the boss fight and makes appropriate decisions along the way. This might just be, I don't know. I don't want to call it an intractable problem, but I think the problem with the free roam is that even if I try to add discouraging elements, I think a lot of players are still going to say it feels bad because they want to explore all these nodes and they can't, right? So, I mean, it's almost as if I do need to take away the choice. Like, you can't explore all the nodes. You have to choose. Like, you have to commit to a path and go down that path. Cat. Hello, Cat. Are you going to help me solve my game design problems? Here. Look at the screen and tell me what you see. Tell me what you see. If enemies are always getting stronger without a cap, I think that's a pretty good already, especially if your cards have an upgrade enchant cap. Well, yeah, I think the problem with that, though, is it's likely that if you just visited every node and ignored the strengthening enemies, that you'd just become so powerful that even the strongest enemies wouldn't pose much of a threat either. But also, I don't want people to spend like 2 or 3 hours in a run just hitting every node, you know? Maybe give the option to decrease notoriety and make the failure state if they reach 100. Could that work? Failure state if you reach 100. Would that feel bad if you hit 100 and then the game just immediately... See, that the problem with that, not to nitpick, but that kind of like is thematically not correct either. Like, if you take down a stronghold, your notoriety shouldn't go down, right? Of course, there's ways around that. I don't think that's necessarily a nitpick that has to block things, but... So if you have ways to reduce notoriety. I'm having a similar design problems with my game, but only I could talk to my GF who is clueless about game dev, or my Aragorn figure. Do you like colony building open world games like RimWorld, Bellwright, or Soul Mask? I won't say I don't like them. I think that they're too much work for me. They're too much work for me. It's too much to think about. Are the nodes random per run? Yes, they are. The cat doesn't see food on the screen, so it doesn't care, yeah. I run Godot to test, but I feel like there are Godot language to code So it's possible to code with C#? Yes, it is, yeah. I'm thinking of trying to start instead of web apps. Risk of Rain is a good example because you want all the chests, but spending all that time causes the game to be insanely hard. Yeah. But the thing is, that's on a timer, I guess. Well, I mean, we could try that. We could just try making everything just go up in difficulty. The combats and whatnot. I mean, maybe that's the way to do it. Maybe the way to do it is just to make the combats more difficult. And make sure that combat scaling is pretty hard. So that way, like, you do feel the strength of the new enemies when the notoriety penalty goes up. Well, we could try that. Let's see. Go to my base seeded run. We're increasing the difficulty of the combat configurations. Increment tier. This is a mess. Score per combat tier. Well, we could try it. Let's see. Let's call it like combat upgrade score 400. And let's go to the combat configuration. Let's do combat upgrade score. What if with high notoriety you have chances to not move backwards to previous position's path, or in areas where, let's say, the eyeballs have visit, you can't go back over? I think there's a different way of accomplishing that, which is maybe to create new nodes at the places you've already visited. So instead of being able to go back the path that you came, like certain nodes in that path could be replaced with difficult combat encounters. That might be the way to do it. I guess you could merge the two together for map layout. You could pick a starting region, builds the region with an intended direction. Once that region ends and the new one begins. That could work. What if there was a secondary condition to notoriety that determined the Inquisition strength, like every boss defeat sets it back, and when they get to full strength, it triggers the grand final boss fight? Your goal is to eliminate the strength before it can be ramped up. Okay, so that's an interesting framing. So we don't have to keep the notoriety thing. It doesn't have to be notoriety. It could be Inquisition strength. Like, that's what it could become instead. And then it becomes more thematically appropriate to have, like, the stronghold reduce the Inquisition strength. And then maybe that could be tied with... So here, maybe we do two things then. Every rollover of 100 in terms of the Inquisition strength causes the Inquisition strength to go up by a very significant amount. Not an amount that's like necessarily difficult to deal with, or not impossible to deal with, but something that you don't want to happen, right? You don't want the Inquisition to become strong when it gets to 100. And then strongholds, or just any boss fights in general, could dramatically reduce the strength of the Inquisition. So that becomes a lever that you can use as a player to prevent the map from scaling, right? So if you're at, if the Inquisition's at 90 strength or whatever, and you can get to a stronghold, that strength might get knocked down by 50, and now all of a sudden you've got a lot of breathing room. You've got a lot more room to do upgrades and whatnot. That might be the way to go. Then I don't have to worry about global map debuffs and whatever. And as long as I make the Inquisition scale in strength to a very noticeable degree, but not a degree that's impossible to overcome, but something that's like very like, that puts pressure on you as a player, That might be the way to do it. And what I could do also, so yeah, what I could do is, so how about this? So you hit 100 notoriety, or you hit 100 Inquisition strength or whatever. That, when you hit 100 Inquisition strength, the only nodes that get upgraded are the combat nodes. And if you want to upgrade the non-combat nodes, you have to hit strongholds. Or defeat bosses, generally speaking. So the nodes that are pure upgrades for the player, those only increase in strength if you defeat a boss, or when you defeat a boss. And the combat nodes only increase in strength when you hit that 100 notoriety level. Does that sound reasonable? There could also be nodes that reduce notoriety that aren't too common, could make choosing paths more interesting. Yeah. What if there's something chasing you, so you need to choose between risking capture and find something useful, or continuing toward the end? That could work too, yeah. What do you use for the Kanban board? It's Obsidian. It's a separate app. It's not in VS Code. It's Obsidian with the Kanban plugin. Now that I think of it, that's how Faster Than Light does it. Yeah, so Faster Than Light is, again, like, it's got something that's very explicitly pushing you in one direction. My understanding is that there's a fight, though. Like, you can fight the thing that's pursuing you, but it's a very, very tough fight. All right, Factor IRL, thanks again for the raid. Appreciate it. And I hope you have a good day. Like, you defeat a battle node, you can move past it in like 1 to 3 moves, then a harder battle pops up on the previous node with a new icon indicating that. That sounds fun. Okay, so maybe we'll do that. So let me change... We're probably going to have to change that, instead of notoriety, we'll call it like Inquisition strength or something. That fixes the theme issue with that. And I can also dynamically change the map too. So like defeating a stronghold in addition to adding new combat nodes or whatever. It could also like take whatever nodes you visited and like add new non-combat nodes, right? And that could open up the possibility too for like certain node types to only be able to appear after you've defeated a stronghold. So there could be like event types or node types on the map that only like pop up after you beat a boss, and that could offer extra incentive. Yeah, I think that's reasonable. So we'll take that approach then. So let's start doing that then. I think this has a good chance of working out if I get the balancing right. Because then if the combats are increasing in difficulty, that's like on you as a player, right? Like you're not acting with enough urgency to like hit the strongholds to reduce the Inquisition strength. But at the same time, because the strongholds are so far away from each other, defeating a stronghold is not enough to keep like the Inquisition permanently suppressed. It's just a way of slowing down the strength and giving yourself more time. So yeah, I think that makes sense. Strength idea feels good. I like it. Okay. All right. Let's do that then. Let's do that. We'll see how that works. Now I'm lost. So this upgrade encounters here, this is going to have to change now. So let's rename this to upgrade combat encounters. And then what we'll do is we'll do a separate method, which is public void upgrade non-combat encounters. And I'm actually not using this notoriety tier anymore. So this notoriety tier, this is going to be int. Yeah, we'll keep the notoriety tier. So your notoriety will go up in a tier when you defeat a boss. Assign node tier. So for each var node in run map.nodes. if node.eventType is equal to eventType.combat or node event type is equal to stronghold, we'll just continue. All right, so let's go to our run manager now. When the notoriety level upgrades. So we're going to want to rename this again, I guess. State map upgrade. Let's rename this to state combat encounter upgrade. This notoriety tier is going to go away. We're probably going to want private async void state non-combat encounter upgrade. We'll do notoriety tier plus plus, then we'll do all this stuff. Let's get rid of this. This is going to be upgrade non-combat encounters. This here, we don't need this notoriety tier anymore. So there will be like, this notoriety tier will just be an invisible thing. We'll just present it in the game like when you defeat a stronghold, all the upgrade events will go up in a tier. Agree with strength as well. Okay, good. I'm glad we're on the right track. Notoriety region boss defeated. So here, where am I actually changing to that state combat encounter upgrade? Oh, here. This is a whole mess. I'm going to need to reorganize this as well. I hope that doesn't break anything. I'm going to have to redo a lot of this code in here, I think, but that's all right. Okay. Upgrade non-combat encounters. Okay, cool. And actually, I probably don't even need to store this notoriety tier. I could just do var notoriety tier is equal to what is it called? Notoriety region boss defeated dot count x dot value. That should work. So we don't need to actually track that. We could just get that from the dictionary. And I can get rid of this notoriety tier here just to simplify things a little bit. So if we're returning from the boss fight, we're going to change into the encounter upgrade. That seems reasonable to me. Base seated run, increment tier, get target score for boss tier, additional boss scores 400. Let's just turn the additional boss score up even more. I'm actually going to play with these numbers quite a bit. Let's do 750 here. Let's see, 750. Let's just do 750 for both. Okay, let me organize this a little bit. Additional boss score, base boss score. I'm going to rename this to Combat Tier Score Divisor. Okay. All right. Let me just make sure this is not used anywhere. So this can be private. All right, well, I think those changes are basically in place. So let me just go ahead and try this out. If I do 99 debug notoriety level, do that. I think we're on the right track now. I think this is going to work pretty well, hopefully. So I go here. I'm going to trigger the boss fight after I get this booster. It upgraded all the combat nodes. Okay, so this is an upgraded boss node now, which obviously looks a lot scarier because I beefed up the score quite a bit. But I've also just beat the boss, so a lot of these nodes should increase. They didn't increase. None of these things increased. We got a debugger error. Attempted to remove input lock when none were present. State non-combat encounter upgrade. State machine change state. Let me just see if this is actually getting called. I didn't notice it. I didn't notice it upgrading any of these non-combat nodes. Let me get... Okay, here we go. So this is going to roll over the notoriety level because I'm at 99 right now. Okay, so that has reset, or that has regenerated all these combats. So you can notice that even though I'm really close to the start, this is now a combat tier 3. Now I may actually need to beef that up even more, but that's all right. So it's a combat tier 3. So now I'm going to try to beat this boss and see if any of these non-combat nodes upgrade. Let's go this way. Lots of testing, lots of testing. Get out of my inventory. Oh my gosh. I need to fix that. Okay, here we go. So if I do this, I'm going to beat that combat. I will get the egg. That's going to push me into the boss fight. I'm going to fight the boss. Yeah, it never went into that, never went into this block here. Oh, right. Because I never added this here. State machine.add state. State non-combat encounter upgrade. That would be why. Do I have any, like, warnings or anything being printed for that? I don't. Okay, well. We'll give it another try here. I'm just looking for... I might be able to go after that guy. Let's see. Try this again. Hey, he's running away. Don't run away from me. Stop running away! I'm trying to fight you. Might be easier to go to the other one. Okay. So let's see, that's enchant tier 2, that's booster 2. So let's see if I trigger this boss fight here. Let's trigger the boss fight. That's a pretty beefy boss. Boss fight triggered. Do this. And now this should be enchant tier 3, booster 3. Yeah, so all of those things have been beefed up, it looks like. I think my math might be wrong there, though. Oops. I go to my run map here. Am I still getting that debugger error? Attempted to remove input lock when none were present. Why is that happening? It's always something. Oh. I forgot to add this line here. That should fix that. So my run map here. How does this work? So at notoriety tier 0. No, that works. So after I get to the second notoriety tier, it'll basically be at full strength. So that's actually good. Don't lower the tier if this runs again. I might as well fix this now while I'm thinking of it. Oh, I didn't even need to do that. Okay. All right. So we're getting there. There's a couple of issues still, but I don't really want to polish this up until I'm sure that this is going to work, or until I'm reasonably sure that this is going to work. Def suggests shift control RMB to quick sell card instead of dragging to sell window. Yeah, that kind of quality of life stuff will come for sure. And we also need the stronghold to reduce the current notoriety level, so maybe we'll add that real quick. Or maybe just any boss defeat will do it. The strongholds still need to have some kind of reason to go after them versus the boss patrol. I guess I could turn that boss patrol into like an elite fight or something, but I don't have the content for that yet. But that is an option to do in the future. We're going to get rid of this. Create announcement. That's not relevant anymore. Wasn't boss fight equals true. Notoriety level. So we'll say notoriety level is equal to mathf.max of 0 and notoriety level minus, let's just do like, we'll start it off at 50. Private const int boss notoriety level decrease equals 50. All right, so I suppose we could test that out too. So let's just see if that works. Elite fights for sure. Yeah, maybe I'll do that instead of that. I'll make them boss patrols to start with, because I do like the fact that they can deny you certain access to nodes if you don't want to fight them. But as we add more content to the game, those could morph into elite fights instead. So here's what I want to do. Let's just fight this boss here and see if that reduces my notoriety level instead of increasing it. Oops. I just started the combat with nothing on my board. That's all right. Or that wasn't the boss fight. This is just a combat here. So we're at 6 right now, so we should see this go down. And we're at 3, so it did, and it added 6 again. So I've got a bunch of bugs with how the notoriety is being calculated here, but basically it did reset it to 0, but then it counted me visiting this node twice, so that's why it's back up to 6. That's an issue that just came up after the refactoring I've done. But yeah, so killing a boss will reduce the notoriety level by 50. So that will be the player's incentive for destroying the boss, is that it's the only way that you can manage your notoriety level increase besides, you know, the nodes that you visit. I think that will work. So yeah, it's going to have to be... I think this is basically at the point where basically just have to play test this and see how that's feeling before I go deep into polishing this all up and making sure it feels good. So yeah, depending on how that goes, I mean, this is a very big change. I may run another playtest relatively soon with this map change to validate it. But we'll see. We'll see. Okay. All right. Well, anyway, I think I've had enough working on the map for now. There was another artifact that Jackie Daytona suggested. Jackie Daytona is responsible for like 50% of the artifacts in this game, but it's another weapon-related one. When only one weapon is on the ally board, increase its crit chance by X, crit multiplier by Y, and add Echo. I think that would be a fun one to do. So let's do that. Just to close out the stream, we'll add this new content. Unfortunately, I have to, let's see. So reduce the notoriety level when defeating the boss. Okay, now I have to close this. Switch to my master branch. Make sure I'm all up to date on that. Switch back to Alchimortis. So for anyone who is watching who is not aware of the map changes I'm making, I'll just go ahead and show you what the current build's map looks like. This is what it looks like. So it's got all these decorations and stuff, but in this version of the map, you're supposed to just generally move northward. And then there are various, like, there's a checkpoint here that triggers the boss fight, and you move through all the different thematic regions that way. So right now the map is being changed so that you start in the middle of the map, and then there's a branch to each of the different regions, which we could still differentiate in some way, in some meaningful way. But, yeah, we'll see. We'll see how it goes. All right, anyway, let's do that artifact. So basically, if there's only one weapon on the board, we're going to buff it a bunch. Which I like. I might actually modify this a little bit because we already have like the Iron Gauntlet, which works off of one minion on the board. I wonder if this could be slightly tweaked so that if you only have weapons on the board, then you get this bonus applied to all weapons. So it's just like every card on your board has to be a weapon. That would be, I think, really interesting, actually. And it would differentiate itself enough from the existing, like, the Iron Gauntlet is if there's only one minion on the board. I don't want to necessarily, like, borrow that and use it in a different artifact. I'm trying to make all the artifacts work, like, entirely differently from each other. So we'll say if your board contains only weapons, then every weapon card gets all these buffs. That would be pretty cool, I think. Okay. Anyway, I'm going to take a quick 3-minute break, and then when I come back, we will go ahead and add this this new artifact. Hello everyone, your favorite niche e-celeb, Firebelly, is back. Let's go ahead and work on this. So, unholy great weapon. So the theme of this might change as well. Sorry, Jackie Daytona, we're gonna rework this a little bit. So I actually don't even know what to draw here. I kind of actually have an idea. If I can do this, let's see. So the idea that I have for the artifact here is I'm thinking of like multiple hands coming up. And this is, I'm gonna have to draw hands, but if we have like multiple hands coming up, I know this doesn't look great, but bear with me for a second. We got like multiple hands here. If I can make them look like hands, it would be really cool. So we've got hands. Let's do this. We'll figure out how to make these actually look like hands in a second. And do I have room for like one more? Maybe if I do one in the back here. So yeah, not really looking like hands at the moment, but we'll get it working. So I'm thinking we've got like this like mass of hands here. And then if I do something like have like this big old hilt or something. Something like that. Let's see. I might do this on a separate layer so I'm not doing anything destructive here. Obviously, this is going to go off screen a little bit. Let's do this. I don't have a whole lot of room. It's okay. We can just make this. Oops. I don't know what button I'm pressing that makes it do that. But let's just bring this out here. So unfortunately, I'm going to have to cut this off like here, which may not be great. So that might look a little bit weird. Maybe we'll bring this down a little bit so I can bring this up at least a little bit. Something like that might work. So the idea is I've just got like this mass of hands holding a singular weapon. Yeah, something like that. My cat is sitting on the router. Excuse me while I yell at her. Sharima, get down. Thank you. Firebelly always working each day. Yep, I gotta work. Can you add a 6-7 card? I'll do that for you, Tempura Cat Games. It's all good. I have a lot of artifact ideas, but I'm not the one making the game or has to add it. So feel free to take whatever and toss the rest. Yeah, I appreciate that. So we are doing, I mean, I'm basically making it the way that you suggested it, Jackie Daytona. It's just, I'm changing it so that it affects all. So if your board has only weapons rather than at least, or just one weapon. So it's going to be like the only cards on your board have to be weapons. And then all of them are going to get increased crit chance, crit multiplier, and echo. So this is just going to be like, if you can manage to cobble together a weapon only build, which is possible for sure, but you're going to have to use a lot of alchemy probably. I'll take the extras, okay. Okay, so we've got these hands here. Maybe I'll just put... how do I want to do this? My mouse keeps lagging. This is the most annoying thing in the world. So they're all like grabbing and supporting this sword. Okay. Let's merge this down then. I don't know what I'm going to call this yet, so we'll hold off on doing that. But let's take this. We'll change these to like orange or something. And then here, we'll do this. Okay. Do I want to add like a little... Maybe not. So in here... Yeah, something like that. I don't know. We'll have to see. We will have to see how this goes. I actually don't really know how this is going to turn out, but we'll see. I think it's getting there. Anyway. Gonna be, yeah, this is gonna be a little bit challenging, but we'll figure it out. Okay. Well, this is a little bit difficult. Maybe I'll just put black pixels there to separate that out a little bit better. I think that probably looks nicer. Probably the most metal artifact that I've drawn. So we got that going for us. I just don't know what to do about this over here. Yeah, it's just hard to separate out the hands from where they're grabbing the sword, but I don't really know what to do about that. Maybe that looks better. Okay, I don't know. Something like that. Change this one a bit. Well, I don't know. Cool art style, dude. 8-color palette for everything. Yes, 8-color palette for everything. Hello, RJM. Welcome, welcome. What are you drawing? What do you think it is? Let me ask you. Let me flip the question on you. What does this look like? Because if it doesn't look like what I'm trying to draw, then that means that I failed. A banana with arms and legs. All right. A sword-headed monster. A wooden-ish monster with a sword as his head. I can't tell. Sorry. Well, maybe it's not working then. This is a bunch of hands coming out and grabbing a sword. Which maybe that will be okay. Maybe it will be okay when I add the name to it. It's also possible that I just failed at this, but that's all right. I can see it now that you've said what it is. Well, I was right about the arms part. Yeah, you were right about the arms. So the problem is it's hard to tell, like if I'm zoomed in this far, like what that is. But if you look at the, the preview over here, it might look a little bit clearer. Maybe it's still not clear. I don't know. We'll see. Anyway, what are we going to call this? We'll see how it looks in game. It's a very complex and unusual thing for such a small size. Yes, that is true. Look more like a piece of cloth. Is that a tool within Godot as well? No, this is Sprite. It's a standalone program for doing sprites. We'll see how it looks in game. I need a name for this though. Something, so it's an artifact. I'm just going to call it hands here, but I have a name for this in mind, and you can tell me how cool or not this name is. All right, create a new artifact. Artifact resource. We're going to call this hands. All right, here's the name. Are you ready for it? Hands of the Fallen. Bam. You can tell me if that's cool or not. I think it's cool. The inner 13-year-old boy inside of me says that's cool. If your board contains only weapon cards, all allied weapon cards gain .5x critical, 0.5 critical multiplier, 20% critical chance, and echo. Hands of the Fallen does sound like a metal song from some Finnish group, yeah. Cool name. Look, more hands, yeah. I would add a hand that's still on its way to the sword to show fingers. We can maybe do that. I don't know. The problem is I don't have a whole lot of space here, so maybe I remove one of the other hands. I have kind of tight space constraints on these because this is a 24 by 24 area, but the safe area for drawing, if I'm accounting for the outlines that are applied both via the black outline here and the shader, I need to have at least 3 pixels of size on every side. So that basically means that I have an 18 by 18 area that I can draw in. I think that's 18 by 18 there. Oh, 19 by 20. 18 by 18. So yeah, all the art needs to fit into 18. I guess I drew it a little bit smaller than it needs to be, but that's all right. 18 by 18 is the area that's the safe area though, I think. Is that right? No, it's 24 by 24. I need 3 pixels of space on each side. Yeah, that's right. 18 by 18 is the max size. It's a really cool name. Sounds like something straight out of a Dark Souls. Yeah. Call it Armageddon. All right, there you go. There you go, Timothy. The pun. Okay, anyway. Hands of the Fallen. Let's go ahead and create the artifact script now. I'll just copy the whetstone here because it's going to be relatively similar. Ah! New file, hands. Okay, so this is, we're going to get rid of this. This is going to be called now critical multiplier increase. I guess these could all be one ability. I don't think I actually need this to be separate abilities. I'm going to try it though. Self critical chance modification into base value. Is this 50 then? So that needs to be 50. And then let's do var critical chance. Modifier equals new self critical chance modification. 20. We'll put that in there. And then we also need, this needs to be echo. And we'll say echo is equal to ability builder dot echo. And I can put is hidden on here. So true. Actually, I don't want that to be hidden. Echo dot set description prefix description utils dot create. Huh? Create color BB code. Why is that in game constants? Oh well. Okay. So now this needs to change. Get base composed abilities. Artifact context, artifact manager. So I actually need to look at my iron gauntlet here. I actually think the iron gauntlet is wrong. It's not using the most up-to-date way of getting the player board, but anyway, that's fine. Context helper. Board manager to get player board. If player board is equal to null, return empty. Var all cards are weapons equals player board dot board inventory component dot get cards on board dot all x dot get tags dot has flag card tag dot weapon. If not all cards are weapons, return. Okay, then if base card dot is owned by player and base card get base composed ability. Oh, is this checking it for every card? Is that let me see. Okay, let's do this. This is returning a list. Yeah, let's do 2 hash set. Doesn't really matter, but cards on board. All. If not all cards are weapons, return. If base card is owned by... So I don't need this anymore. All I need to do is I just need to say if cards on board dot contains base card, then we return that. Otherwise, we return empty. Okay, is that logic correct? If all weapons have if all cards on the board have the weapon tag, and the card that we're currently modifying is contained on the board, then we do that. All right, let's see what that does. So I'm obviously going to need some weapon cards. Actually, we already have a whip. Let's just go ahead and also, we have the stone sword as well. Let's just go ahead and add skeleton mage just so we can test it with a non-weapon. And then also, let's do scythe. And then test player artifacts, we are going to do hands. Okay, we'll see what happens. Hands of the Fallen is good. Yeah, you like it? .all will return true in an empty collection. I think that's okay in this case, right? So it only works when there are weapons on the board. I'd hope to combine it with the Abomination weapons build. Yeah, so the thing is, though, you can take the Abomination ability and put it on a weapon. So this artifact basically makes it so that it only works with if your board contains all weapons. So it's definitely going to be the case that you want to, you're probably going to want to alchemize your weapons if you want to preserve a weapon-only build. But you can definitely get the Abomination ability onto a weapon. So you can definitely make it work. Wait, this has a 70% crit chance, is that right? 70%. Did I just do that wrong? Oh, I did self-critical chance modification both times. This needs to be self-critical multiplier modification. I don't know why that changed. Maybe the AI changed it out from under me. Okay. So I put this here, boom, 20%, 2x multiplier, and it has echo as well. Now let's put the skeleton mage on here, and that should go away now. Perfect, but I can put the whip on here. Look at that, that's pretty cool. I like that artifact, actually. It's probably one of my favorites already. Oh, so the interesting thing about Echo on Stone Hue here is that if it echoes the preserve damage, then this third ability here, deal damage equal to preserve damage dealt, will actually deal more damage. So that's cool. The other thing, though, is that it's probably going to... If it chooses to deal the damage twice... Actually, let me go look at that. I'm gonna have to try that out. I wonder if it's clearing... I don't think echoes count as card executions, so maybe it'll just work, but... Dealt 6 preserve damage, dealt 0 preserve damage, then dealt 12 damage. Oh, interesting. Why is it choosing the preserve damage every time? I'm gonna have to see how Echo works with that. I don't think... Oh, maybe Echo... Yeah, maybe Echo doesn't work on those kinds of things, but that's alright. Anyway, it seems to be working. Now, the fun thing is that I can stack these artifacts. Good name. YouTube just randomly highlighted this stream for me, so I'm new here in your project. How long have you been working on it? Heard you say you hope to be done this summer, fall. Yeah, I've been working on it since March of last year, so we're definitely getting to the point where, like, we're approaching a year of development. Once I figure out what I'm doing with the map, so I'm working on the map overhaul, sort of in parallel to adding new content. Basically, once I figure out what I'm doing with the map, it should be a reasonably, knock on wood, straightforward path to getting the game actually finished. The map is really the last big, like, game design thing that I have to figure out, and then the rest of it is just, like, adding a bunch of meta progression, adding a bunch of content, adding new event types, new cards, new artifacts, all that kind of good stuff. So we're getting to the point now where, like, all of the game systems are basically good or approaching good. and then it'll just be a mad dash to get all the content into the game that I want to get in the game, as well as stuff like, you know, saving mid-run progress and controller support, all that good stuff. So I think the bulk of the remaining development time is going to be basically just content and getting those last little bits of polish in place. So these have echo twice now. I could see players creating really ridiculous builds with this Hands of the Fallen. Yeah, so that Snakehead Whip is applying bleed 3 times. It applied 9. Oh my gosh, 60% crit chance. Time to take the kids to archery. Have a good one. That sounds fun. I wish my parents would have taken me to archery when I was a kid. Yeah, have a good one, Ninja Link. Thanks for joining, and hope to see you tomorrow. Hello, Diginanigans. Welcome, welcome. All right, I think I would say that we're good. No, don't tell me that I have another input lock error. No, I don't want to see that. I don't like those errors. App recenter button. Oh, well, maybe it's not that big of a deal. Anyway. So that is done. I'm going to rewrite this a little bit. Hands of the Fallen. Okay, we're done with that. And that is, what are we at? 2 hours and 30 minutes. That'll be it for the stream today then. So, second stream for you. What do we do, like 4.5 hours of streaming today? Not bad, not bad. But yeah, that's it for the stream right now. Thank you everyone for watching, and thank you for all the new people that are here. Appreciate it. I stream every day at 10 a.m. Eastern normal time, and then sometimes I will do these afternoon streams as well, but I just kind of do those whenever. So join the Discord. Wishlist Alchemortis on Steam. I'd very much appreciate it. And if you're curious about what the game's about, the Steam page does a better job of explaining it than I can do during the stream. So check out the links in the description below. Those are all the ways that you can support me. Join the Discord if you want to hop in and stay up to date with Alchemortis, as well as hang out with the wonderful community we've got going on here. And yeah, I'll be back at it tomorrow at 10 a.m. Eastern. Try to follow your progress. Awesome. So yeah, hope to see you there. Have a great day, everybody, and I'll see you tomorrow. Okay, bye-bye.